Hey everybody, welcome back to our neck of the woods and another video on the Camaro ZL1 1LE. There's several things in this video that we're going to do on the car, but there's something that I want to talk about real quick, and it's not the greatest of news. So before we dive in and do anything, I want to tell you guys what's going on. So I wanted to take this time and talk about this now before we dive into the car. I just got home from work and I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I'd rather talk about this now because you guys are going to find out one way or another. And I didn't want to talk about it and then 5 minutes later be all happy and like, here's all my parts that I got. Some of the things that we're going to do on the car is going to be tinting the windows. I already mentioned doing like a paint correction, probably ceramic coating, and clear rawing the car. And the reason why I'm mentioning these to you guys now is I found out some horrific, tragic news, and you guys in this vlogging have already seen me go to my buddy Jesse's shop several times for some tinting, for some detailing. He had a buddy go to his shop and fix the dent on my ZR2. Jesse let the AMG live at his shop for like 2 months in the winter before the garage was completely sealed up. And I found out some tragic news that Jesse lost his life in a tragic accident. So I didn't want you guys to hear me say I'm going to Jesse's that I've said so many times in the past. And I said that he was, going to tint the windows and do stuff to the car, and then me to, not go to his shop and to show up someplace else. And I don't know, it just blew me away. I found out through a coworker of his when Jesse didn't respond to me, and he always responded right away in messaging. And I messaged him, the day I got this car that, I want to do some stuff. And yeah, it's just one of those gone too soon, tragic accidents. And it's been several days since I found out, so I'm a little better now. But I don't know. It still hurts. Jesse, he had a family, and it was just an unfortunate, tragic accident. And I don't know. I hope his friends and family are doing well. His friends actually turned me on to some other people in the area who can do all this stuff, because, we're a tight community. Car communities are tight people. There's going to be more than one detailer, and they're going to know each other, and luckily everybody's friends. So hopefully we can keep doing that type of stuff, kind of in his memory, and just, again, wishing his family the best and his friends the best. And yeah, Jesse, buddy, I'm sorry. I hope you're in a better place, and we'll be thinking about you. So I'm going to head to bed for today. When the parts show up, we'll be back at it, when everything gets here, and when we can find out when we can get in, kind of take care of the car and, do what I originally wanted to do. But I just, again, wanted to take this time out now and kind of dedicate this video to him. He was just an amazing friend, a good guy, again, who lets somebody's, car live at their shop for a few months while your, house is getting built, and, doesn't even charge you for it. That's just the type of guy Jesse was. So, yeah, I'm gonna, be on a more positive note in a few days, get back at this, and I'll see you guys then. And again, Jesse, I hope you're in a better place, buddy. We'll miss you. Hey everybody, welcome back for another day on the Camaro. So again, what we're gonna do in this video, the full video, hopefully we can get it all done, is number one, the SPL parts have shown up, so we're gonna get those installed on the rear. We also found out a new thing about the car. In fact, one of you guys pointed it in my direction, and it's those front brake ducts that come out of the front bumper. They hit a little plastic shield that's only about that big on a control arm. The air hits that and it goes over to the rotors and stuff. And I thought that that would be fine. But some of the other cars, like the Chevy SS Camaro and stuff, they're allowed to put another brake duct shield on there that's much bigger. In fact, it blocks off all of the air getting into where it can shoot into like underneath of the engine and stuff. And it doesn't say it's specifically made for the 1LE. It just says it's made for like a 2008 SS and maybe the other models. So again, I'm not sure if I actually need it, but that is weird that when I look at that, it just looks like it's a mess in there. It looks like I should also have one of those big shields there, but Chevy recommends that shield to only be installed when you're racing. And in fact, they don't want you to have your rain guard, rain deflector thing missing when you're driving on the road. And they don't even want the power steering pump inlets on the car when you're driving around on the road. So I don't think anyone's gonna like rip apart the whole front of the car and replace all three of those things. But just as a disclaimer to you guys, if you're doing that, Chevy does say don't drive around on the street. As you guys just saw from that picture, I think it makes sense to just spend $28 and to get a much more blocking off shield away from the engine bay and having all that air come out of that duct and throw it at there. So those parts should be here in a few days, which should be wrapped up in this video. But that is the next thing that we're gonna get installed on the car. And the other thing that makes me feel a lot better is if you go to Chevy.com and you look at the performance parts on their parts catalog on the website, they actually do sell a front upper tower brace. So that makes me feel good that we got a front tower brace where I said, I don't know if it's really worth it because Chevy didn't put it on the car factory, but then Chevy does have it available to put it on a car. It says that their brace stiffens up the front strut towers 47% stiffer. So they bolt in a little bit different of a way, but I am totally happy with the way the BMR looks and how it bolts up. So I'm totally fine with that. So that makes me feel good that we actually spent some money that even Chevy says it's worth it. So the next thing that we're going to do in the video, obviously we need an alignment because we're going to put these arms on today. And then I've decided to not put the racing brake pads on yet. They're not even here yet, but I figured let's just go ahead and with one of your guys' suggestions also, let's just go ahead and see what the factory brake pads feel like on the track. Let's just go ahead and break those in on the street. And then once we get them broken in on the street in this video also, so I'll have a review for you guys of how the braking feels, what the rotors actually look like when they're broken in, and what the track alignment actually feels like versus how we've been driving it on the street. So we'll have all of those reviews in this video. And then after we've broken in the factory brake pads to the factory rotors, we will go ahead and change out the brake fluid. I figure let's just go ahead and leave the factory fluid in right now when we're doing our brake in, because that brake fluid is going to get so hot we're probably going to end up boiling it during the brake-in procedure. So let's not go ahead and waste some RBF 600 already where it's going through like a massive heat cycle. Let's just go ahead and do the factory fluid now, break those puppies in, then put in the RBF fluid, and then maybe even we'll take the racing brake pads to our first track day. If we're starting to have brake fade, if I'm going way in too deep on some of the corners and I don't like the feel, we can simply get the car up off of the ground. Since we do have a quick jack system, or we'll be upgrading to a more heavier, bigger quick jack system, we can take that to the track by throwing it into the bed of the truck, which is what I freaking love about quick jack. We can also take one of the generators so we have power to plug into if I don't get a garage-based stall or have an outlet somewhere on the track. We can plug the generator in, get it up off the ground, swap out the pads real quick because it's super easy when you have like a racing caliper, big brake kits like that. It takes a couple minutes just to pop the pads out and put new ones in. And yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go. And then the other things we got going on in this video is I've got an appointment this week to get the windows tinted. And then we'll also see if we've got time to do a cleaning, clay bar, ceramic coating, and I don't think we're going to be doing the PPF. But we're going to make this thing look real pretty and get it protected with the guy that I've chose, actually, who does ceramic coating. He actually does 2 layers of ceramic coating. So he'll make the car look 100% totally awesome, protected, and then we can talk about the PPF. So right now, let's do an unboxing, see what we got, and let's get these arms installed. All right, first up, we have got our traction arm that's replacing the factory traction arm. And again, if you don't remember, the factory traction arm has an eccentric bolt in the middle that does the movement by pushing and pulling that arm this way or that way. These obviously do not have that, so it came with an Eccentric lockout kit. So it's a square washer now instead of an offset circle washer that will fit in between the factory frame rail, and then it can't go anywhere. That bolt's just gonna lock in. And then as you can see, we get rid of that rubber joint by putting in these spherical bearings. Now the bolt that goes through here can't move within the rubber because obviously this metal on metal has no movement. And of course we're going to a much thicker, stronger piece of metal here that's like tubular aluminum. Actually, I said tubular steel, but I think this is tubular aluminum. And again, the reason why I went with SPL, the biggest reason is BMR does make suspension parts for all this stuff, but BMR has 3 different types. They've got one arm that doesn't have any adjustment at all because these obviously spin out and spin in for your adjustment now. And then they just replace the factory rubber bushing with like an upgraded polyurethane bushing. So that one's pretty cheap. Then you've got one that has no adjustment on the car. You have to like take it off the car, spin your rod out, and then reinstall it. That would just be an absolute nightmare for an alignment guy. And then they've made an arm that is adjustable on the car, but unfortunately you get up to the price of SPL, and you might as well just go SPL if you're getting the most expensive BMR arm. And what I don't like about them is they just use a big old factory nut to lock down the alignment, and I think that nut still has a chance to back off. But as you can see on everything SPL, they use these collars. So once you get your alignment and get it set up, you lock this Allen down, and this has no chance of backing out because you're pinching the threads up in here and they can't back out, as opposed to, again, a big old nut that can back off and then the arm can like kind of twist itself. So if you're gonna spend the exact same amount of money, you might as well just go with SPL as opposed to what BMR actually has out there. And then our other unboxing, of course, we've got our upper arm. So our upper arm is now, again, what is going to control our camber, so we can lock out the factory camber arm. So this will bolt into the car. We have our adjustment right here to push and pull so that we can move upper camber. So let's just get the car up in the air. Let's take the factory arms off and get these installed. And let's see if we can make something work so we can get an alignment like today or tomorrow. All right, so just got the first arm off, and this one's actually a little bit better. It's actually more tubular, I guess, or square. There is no just cupped where it was just stamped into a piece. They actually did weld on here and weld on here 2 like L channels together. So this is actually probably a lot stronger than what we initially thought. What I also noticed is this bearing or this rubber bushing. I don't know if it's liquid filled or not, but there is a lot of movement in here. But front to back, there's almost no movement. Even though this is rubber in here, this seems like a decent bearing that they put together, or whatever you want to call this. It looks like there was probably a little movement in here, but the car also only has like 470 miles, so it's not exactly broken in. But what I am happy about is I believe the ZL1 1LE, where this bolts to, on that rear steering knuckle, SPL does have a kit that you can replace everything on the steering knuckle with spherical bearings, but the rubberized bearings that are on there now, there's no movement. They are like the hardest of rock hard rubber. There isn't movement like there is in here like this. It is just solidly like bolted together. So this one probably also has limited to like almost no movement at all. Hopefully this gets pulled out and unthreaded and we don't go too far. SPL does have a measurement on all these where you cannot go beyond the unthreading distance here. You don't want to get too wide out because then this can probably break. So I'll read the directions real quick and give you that number. All right, so the maximum that these can be threaded out, even though as you can see, it keeps going and going and going. The maximum that you can go out is 0.625 inches. So calipers are probably the best to measure in there, which I do have a set in the house, but we can use the tape measure and just get it close. But again, the beauty with the SPL is that they are adjustable on both sides. And since they are cross-threaded the opposite direction, when this is actually on the car and you're putting a wrench on right here and you're actually moving this, it actually is moving the whole arm front to back because these are threaded in opposite directions. So good job SPL for actually using your brain and making awesome quality parts. All right, now the simplest way just to get to the alignment shop somewhat safe is because these are adjustable. If we go ahead and put a bolt through the bottom there and a bolt through the top, We're just basically trying to get that as easy as can be, or as equal as can be. So you can see we might need one more turn up here or one more turn back here, and these will be almost 100% dead set from the factory. So again, that way when you're driving on the street getting to the alignment shop, this is almost 100% guaranteed. So our camber should be adjusted now perfectly with using this arm. And then when we get there, the only thing I would recommend for your alignment guy, make sure these are easily accessible. Don't put this all the way up in there, because obviously it's easy to do with the tire off right now, but make sure that this is facing a direction that he can reach his hand up from the bottom, loosen it up, and then he can adjust the arm and then get back in and tighten these. Don't put it all the way up and around on top of the arm where his arm can't get up to and actually get it loosened up. Oh, and one other thing I got too, I got these off of Amazon. These are for the jack stands. They're nice, thick, real heavy duty rubber that they'll sit on the jack stand, and then your pinch weld can fit down in there. So nothing's worse than trying to have a jack push up on the car that's this metal, just eats up your pinch weld, or your pinch weld bends. So this one is more made for the new school. This is my grandfather's, probably 50 years old or more, but they do fit kinda, so this would work, but they just kind of fit down over top of there. Your pinch weld sits in there, and then it's actually pushing up on the frame of the car, and save you from just scuffing up the bottom and everything. So check these out on Amazon. They're definitely worth it. All right, so first thing first, the upper control arm, real easy. I believe they're an 18 on each side. Yep, 18 on each side. This one comes out pretty easy. That one back in there is a little bit more tricky to get to, but you can totally do it with a wrench and a socket just to remove that. And then this guy just pops right out. And these do have a cable on here, so you will have to zip tie these back on, because the SPL don't have any cable acceptor thingy, but a zip tie will be more than enough to just put this back on. All right, so that arm is out. Like I said, that one was really easy. But if you guys look, this is what I'm talking about, these arms being so flimsy. At least this upper arm was like kind of solid, but just check these arms out. Just look how stamped they are. Real thin sheet metal. So both this one and this one, these are the actual arms for the trailing and the traction that I said we did not have to replace right now. But holy crap, are these things really cheap and flimsy, especially with all the holes they drill through each. So we'll probably upgrade these in the future, but the most important ones right now are just the ones that we can get our control on. All right, so reinstall of the upper arm, very easy. We did have to use some zip ties, like I said, to support this wire here. And we've got enough slack everywhere that it's not hurting anything. And then this guy right here, this is the factory bolt. I would prefer if we had one of these bolts that were smooth shaft, so that those threads weren't like eating up the inside of that smooth cylinder or kind of spacer that goes all the way through here. But if the factory leaves it that way and SPL doesn't supply you with smooth shaft to go through there, then I guess it's not a big deal. But again, this nut and bolt are using factory, and then we're using the supplied SPL bolt and washer to go through the back. And then we've already got the Allens tight, so this thing wasn't moving on us. But it's real simple with everything going through here that we can tighten all of this up. The only thing that is the biggest caveat you have to remember is back there, there's no rubber or anything. That's just metal on metal. You can tighten this guy up right now, and this arm can still flex up and down and move and do what it has to do. This guy, however, because this is a rubber bushing, do not tighten this with the suspension relaxed right now, because when you put the wheel back on and push this back up, this is going to want to go back up like this, and with this all being tight, that rubber piece in there doesn't like to rotate like this. So it's going to try and rotate it back up to get into its normal oriented position. So we're going to have to put the jack under the rotor here and jack this up till it's back up to the factory height. Then you tighten down your rubber bushings. Anything that has to do with a rubber bushing, make sure you tighten it with the suspension loaded, not unloaded and hanging down like it is right now. So we will go ahead and get this one tightened later, but obviously we have to have the wheel off to do that because there's no room in here with the wheel on. So again, the jack's gonna have to go under the rotor. We'll get this back up and then we'll tighten the rubber ones. Just make sure you're not tightening rubber components with the suspension not in what its normal orientation is going to be. All right, upper control arm done. Everything is zip tied. Now the toe arm's real easy. This bolt just goes right into the knuckle. There is no rubber bushing or anything that's on here. So it's just pull this guy out and you're done. This guy back here, the bolt does have to go all the way out. So SPL gives you a super, super long one that again will be smooth shaft all the way till it gets out here to the threads. But super easy and not that bad at all. Now this bolt here I am going to reuse because again, it's not a smooth shaft. It's got a thread directly into the knuckle. I think Chevy says go ahead and replace this every time you do it so that you're not elongating this bolt, but do what you want on your own cars. I think reusing this one more time just to screw back in there is not going to hurt anything. All right, and there you can see for the first time what we're talking about with an eccentric lockout. We've got that square now in between these two notches, or in between like a notch there and a notch there, that square cannot spin or move. That is locked out. This bolt cannot go anywhere, it cannot move, it's officially done. This is the one that we have to work on now, that we need to pull this out. On these eccentric or non-eccentric lockout bolts, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is just the smallest of small flat spot right there. So I don't know why they had to make it circle and not make it round, but that, it may be, I don't know, an eighth of an inch, just slightly over an eighth of an inch, that technically is a flat spot on each side. And there's a flat spot on that top and a flat spot on that bottom. So somehow they're considering this a lockout kit just from those ever so slight flat spots. So they say in the directions that when you put their bolt back in, you will put this in either in like the maximum, minimum, or medium, or like minimum orientation. So you're not gonna have camber adjustment with this per se. I guess when you get to the alignment shop, they can loosen up the bolt and then take their bolt, or they would have to actually pull the washer out a little bit and then turn it 90 degrees, and then you can turn it 180, or then you can turn it this way. And depending on the orientation of this bolt, whether it's facing more to the outside, or it's facing more to the inside, or it's directly in line in the middle, that essentially is locking it out. Apparently, those little itty bitty tiny flat spots there will not allow this to rotate. So I guess I was considering this an eccentric, even though it's off center, but it is locked out. So I guess let's try and get those factory bolts out, slide the SPL bolt in, and then I don't know which one we're gonna choose. Let's just go ahead and choose the middle, and then when we get to the alignment shop, if we're just way too off on camber and we can't get the adjustment, then I'll have the guy back off the nut. He'll have to pull the bolt out a little bit, and then we'll have to like take these out, spin them in one direction, and then slide them back in, and then I guess it's locked out. All right, so this is a nightmare, but we've managed to get one side in, half of one side. So as you can see, that bolt is facing more towards the outer part of the car, but it just barely fits in that factory metal. I actually had to get my grinder out and grind down a little bit of the flat spots so that it could fit in between the side here and this side here. So hopefully this is kind of more the natural orientation of where it's sitting right now. So hopefully with the bolt being more towards the outside, we do not have to go to the alignment shop and take this back out and then take this washer and rotate it into the middle orientation, or take the bolt and put it all the way over to the inboard side. Hopefully right there is enough, and the rest of the adjustment can happen from the upper part of the arm, because getting this guy in here, there's just like no tolerance at all. And that's where that basically has to go. So for the other side, we have to make sure that this is also in the same orientation. So the thin part here is going towards the outside. You don't want to reinstall the inside or the other side over here towards the front of the car. You don't want to install it like that, and you obviously don't want to install it like that. You want to have them going in the exact same direction. So hopefully I don't have to grind too much of these flat spots down to fit on this side, but that's how it's going to go. That's how hopefully it's going to stay for the rest of its life, because that is a pain in the butt. All right, not easy at all to get these washers facing in the same direction. So again, the thin part is facing out there. I had to put a strap on here to pull the lower control arm closer, because that bolt was just not going through the hole. But I finally got it, and we can tighten this down. And then, like I said, fingers crossed, please, for the love of anything, I hope we don't have to mess with this when we get to the alignment shop, because pulling these washers out and having to spin them, again, moving this bolt either in the center location or all the way further out here is just going to be an absolute nightmare. So hopefully these are just done from here on out. Okay, I just got the passenger side done. That was a little bit easier. I only needed just minor grinding on each one of the Eccentric lockout washers, whatever you want to call them. So I was able to get the other side in a lot easier, but we're done. So the only thing that's a little annoying that will kind of hit my OCD a little bit is inside of here. You can see on the upper control arm, they call this a groove mark, and it's white. And then right there, this has a groove mark also that's white, and it's only on one side. Well, these white marks here and these white marks here line up, but then my SPL is upside down. I guess technically this arm here could have gone over on that side, and that arm could have gone over on this side, and they could have been swapped over. But the dimensions in between each one of them are exactly the same, and that is a solid rod, unlike the factory rod, which I guess, I don't know, I guess you could install this either way, as long as like that faced the back, as opposed to you wouldn't want to install it that way. But there really is no difference. There's nothing in between there, so it just sucks that that's kind of upside down. So hopefully we'll be able to adjust the toe a little bit, and that will spin down and around and face like the inside of the car. Well, no one will ever see it, but obviously I do want my white marks to line up both on the outside. So it is what it is. So let's get the wheels and tires back on. Let's get this thing down on the ground, and then I think we're ready for an alignment this week. Good morning, everybody. I am not quite awake yet, but it is appointment time that we can go ahead and get the windows tinted today. And I also got lucky, and we also got an appointment set up for our alignment. So hopefully today we finish this video out. You guys will see what it looks like again with the windows tinted, which it's kind of hard to tell in the garage. The windows already look super dark, but trust me, there's no tint on them at all. Again, hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have the windows tint done. The alignment will be done, and I can give you guys feedback on how this thing actually feels and what it's going to feel like handling wise on the track. And then if it's warm enough, we might be able to even break in the rotors and everything. So stay tuned. We got a lot to do today, and then we'll go from there. Dang, that's loud. And that's still stock. Well, I'm on my way to another alignment shop. I am not happy at all. I know the owner of a local place, young guy, very nice, has always helped me out in the past with doing stuff. Call him up and say, hey, want an alignment for tomorrow, you got time? And he goes, yeah, just make sure you bring it in early and we'll get it knocked out, no big deal. So I show up, and he didn't show up yet. But one of his coworkers comes outside, looks over the car, and he goes, "Yeah, I got some bad news. We can't do it. Our machine only goes up to 2020." And I go, "Oh, okay. I mean, the car's been the same since 2017. Nothing's changed." And he goes, "Yeah, no, I've been doing this 20, 30 years. It always changes. There's always differences. The LE or the SS and this, that, and the other. And I'm not gonna align it." And I go, "But again, I'm just aligning to factory specs." And he goes, "Yeah, no. Again, I've been doing this 20 years. Just keeps looking over the car. I'm not gonna do it. I don't need you to be coming back if the alignment's messed up and wanting free tires and stuff like that. We're just not gonna do it." I'm like, "Okay, I'll talk to the owner, thanks." And he turns around and walks away. Owner hasn't called me back yet. It's still super early, but he obviously gets there a little bit later. And I didn't want anyone touching my car except the owner, which he does work on cars. He's, again, young guy. He's like the head tech. So I would want him to do it anyway. But holy crap, to insinuate that you can't align a car because you think that I'm going to come back after you and demand new tires if the tires are messed up. I mean, for the love of God, we're going for racing specs anyway. It's not like these tires are going to last 20, 30,000 miles, and he couldn't get that through his head. I cannot tell you how pissed off that makes me, and I don't know if I ever talk to the owner what I'm actually going to say, because I would love to give him a piece of my mind, but I don't know, just let it go. But I'm afraid I might not be going back there for anything else. If he's going to allow workers to work there like that and talk to customers like that, when again, you're only going for alignment specs. And again, I understand, completely should have left the conversation with him stopping that, you know, our machine only goes up to 2020, I don't feel comfortable doing it. Okay, I understand that, and that's where I would have left it. But by me saying, you know, it's the same alignment specs for the 17, 18, 19, and the 20 and the 21 haven't changed, and for him to then go on and just act like that and talk like that, holy crap. So on our way to another alignment shop. Luckily, it's like basically right next door to the window tinter, so hopefully you guys will be seeing the window tint done here shortly. Although that shop never gave me a time. They just said to be here on the 5th. Well, I'm trying to show up super early on the 5th to be kind of first come first serve, but something tells me I may get screwed and I'm gonna have to sit there and wait because they didn't put me on a time frame on the books. So we'll see what we see. So I'll see you guys back in a little bit. All right, guys, windows tinted is done. I can't see how good it actually looks yet. There's a ton of water behind here and it just looks like not great right now. So until it cures over the next couple days, I can't give my full opinion or recommendation for the place that I went. In fact, I don't even know if I will. I know, obviously, I had a friend doing it before, but holy crap, that's about 3.5, 4 times more expensive than what I originally thought. So let me know what you guys think. What do you think a car price-wise and nowadays for tinting? 2 front windows, a back window, and then obviously these really small little triangles. What is the price of window tinting nowadays? Because, again, 3 or 4 times more expensive than what I'm used to getting. All right, guys, track alignment is done. Took a little longer than expected, but he did as good of a job as he could. I mean, it's perfect. We went ahead and set the front camber, which I don't really know how he adjusted it because it started out at negative 2.6 on the driver and negative 2.8 on the passenger. And now it's negative 2.8 on both sides. The rear is negative 2, exactly what Chevy wants. And the toe is anywhere from being towed in, I think, on both the front and the rear at a 0.1 to a 0.05, and he set it at a 0.07, so basically right in the middle. So we should not be chewing tires up. We'll see how that feels, if I need to adjust the front any which way, because I know towing out and towing in the front's a little bit more important than the rear. The rear you definitely kind of always want to have towed in. But we'll just have to wait for our first track day to actually get that done. But unfortunately, as you can see, freaking monsoon season is upon us, so huge rainstorm, so there'll be no aggressive street driving today on these tires because they are freaking scary in the rain. They are not good for any puddles at all, and even touching the throttle, the rear end is pointless. So there'll be definitely no hard braking today or giving you guys feedback on how this thing actually feels and punches to full throttle, but we'll just have to wait. But it's not a bad thing because in the garage, there's a little surprise that showed up today. Has something to do with a little bit of vroom vroom, and we might as well just hold off on that video to install that on the next one, break in the pads, the rotors, change out the fluid, and then hit it hard on the street and actually see how this thing again feels and brakes. So we'll have to just wait until then. So again, unfortunately, rain season is upon us. We'll just have to wait for the next video. So until then, I hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys get an idea now of what to do again on track prepping, what actually needs done, and hopefully we don't lose alignment settings on any future track days, and the rear arms are good for what we bought. So until then, I will see you guys next time. Again, wrapping it up here. Hit the thumbs up button if you guys enjoyed. Comment if you got anything to say. And until then, we'll see you next time. Take care.